right, we're recording, I believe. Yep. What's up, Brock?
Hey,
Hey.
good morning.
Good morning. It's actually 4:15 in the afternoon.
Yeah, it was a late night.
It was a late night, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, playing Halo 3.
Don't make it seem so cool.
It was awesome. On an Xbox 360. Oh, hell yeah, man. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Tell me you're old without telling me you're old.
Tell me. Welcome to Erberners.
Yeah, Berners.
Erberners. Episode number 3. So this is actually fun. We got to our third episode. And soon we'll be on our full rotation of album suggestions. That's kind of cool.
Really?
I think so. Because I picked the first one. You picked
Sorry, I
the
misunderstood.
second, and then this week I picked this one. And then you'll pick this at the end of this episode. So that's kind of fun.
Can't wait.
Yeah, me either. I can't wait to hear your next album. So we'll talk about that a little bit at the end. So, of course, this is Erberners, where we go over an album, we listen to a week, and then after we listen to it throughout the week, we get back together, talk about our thoughts and opinions about the album. This week, we kind of cheated a little bit. I kind of revealed a little bit about my thoughts on this album, maybe a little bit prematurely. But the album we're listening to this week is... What is it, Brock? You want to say what the album was?
Did you forget? Yeah.
I didn't forget, no.
Fuck. It's the Glow Part 2 by the Microphones.
By the Microphones, yes.
Yes.
Yep. So, yeah. So, it was a good album. So, what I had revealed to Brock early in the week was that the first listen was a little difficult for me.
Yeah. And I'll say me too.
Okay. So,
And I think...
some of the most powerful words to hear when you're really deeply troubled is me too.
Is it? Or is it like I'm taking away your story from you by saying, hey, I'm going to just pull something that relates to it and talk about me?
Oh. Well, it takes a lot of pressure off me.
You feel like you're
less of an asshole.
Solidarity.
Solidarity is the word, yes. I feel
I would venture to say most fans of this album can't admit or have to admit that they probably weren't that into it on the first listen, because there's nothing about it that's, except for maybe track 2, that you go, whoa.
Yeah. So let's do our intro, because we completely forgot about it again.
We always forget.
Erberners.
I love how you say it.
Erberners.
Yeah. Wow, it's so loud in my headphones.
That's very loud.
I can't even hear myself think. It's okay, don't fuck it down. Okay. It's too late. It's already going. Wow.
Yep. It's so beautiful. So we're going to be listening to, or talking about, I should say, the Glow Part 2 by the Microphones.
Okay.
So on this third episode of Erberners, I had chosen to listen. So this was my choice to listen to this album. So according to Wikipedia, the Microphones are an American indie rock folk band from Olympia. Is that Washington State?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes a little
Does
bit.
it make more sense now?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it makes some sense. The project was founded in 1996 and had ended in 2003. The band has had short reunions in 2007 and revivals in 2019 and 2020. The band is fronted by principal songwriter and produced by Phil Elverum. I believe I'm saying that last name correct.
Probably.
Elverum?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, probably.
Elverum. So the songwriting throughout this album is very characteristic of Phil's songwriting that I have heard through his other project, Mount Erie. He has a very Phil Elverum style to his vocals, to the way that he kind of sings, songwrites. It's kind of like a talk singing, speaking singing kind of style that he has.
Yeah, you always know it's him.
Oh, yeah.
It's got always has that character to it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the things that I'll get to in my least favorite moments of the album is just kind of how he doesn't switch it up at all. This kind of style is very Phil Elverum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have more that you're gonna read?
I do, but
Okay.
do you have something else?
No, I don't want to get too far into it. If we're still doing our
Okay.
this background on the
Absolutely,
album.
absolutely. Yep, I can dive more into it.
Yeah, I took over last week.
Well, it was your album, so that's fair.
Yeah, I got really like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you were talking about an album that you were very passionate about.
I'm very passionate about this one too.
Nice. Like deeply.
Well, go on. Go on.
Okay, I'll go on. I'll continue. Okay, so the songwriting throughout this album is very characteristic of Phil's songwriting that I've heard through his other projects, such as Mount Eerie. It is very much singing, winding melodic sentences that find their way throughout the songs and fit in nicely. So he does have a way of like speaking, singing melodically, in a way that it does fit the way that the rhythm's going. It's like lines and lines of words that kind of like swim their way through the music and then kind of fit in. Not so often. It's not neatly, but it still fits in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably unique to this project. They seem pretty stream of consciousness. Some of his like
I agree.
his the things he's saying. I mean, it's like compared to later Mount Eerie releases where you kind of have a better idea about what he's singing about. This one, you get little glimpses here and there, but it's a lot of descriptions of like scenery and things, which being from the Pacific Northwest, I think every artist that comes from there seems obsessed with the landscape and those types of like environmental things they're surrounded by. You know, even like Wolves in the Throne Room, like a completely different type of band who Phil has actually worked with.
Oh, really?
They remixed two of his songs under Mount Eerie.
Wolves in the Throne Room has worked with Mount Eerie?
Yeah, there's like two remixes from the Wind's Poem album that Wolves in the Throne Room like remixed. I don't know what they did exactly because they're not necessarily DJs, but yeah, so he must know them. But also, like on Wikipedia, it said like, and even on that Mount Eerie album, Wind's Poem, like he's really influenced by black metal music.
It did say that. I did notice that. One of the influences is definitely like a shoegaze, kind of the atmospheric, but also I did read black metal in there as well.
And I hear it.
I do too. There's certain tracks we'll talk about in this album that I definitely kind of did get that vibe from a little bit. But continuing on with what I was reading here, it's coincidentally, I had mentioned Mount Eerie's A Crow Looked at Me in the previous episode of Earburners, joking about how depressively painful it would be to listen to that album for a full week. You remember that? I had mentioned that just as a joke.
Yeah. And then you picked one of his projects.
Yeah. So A Crow Looked at Me is a 2017 album dedicated solely to the loss of Phil's wife of 13 years, Genevieve Castre, who, after giving birth to their daughter, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and succumbed to the disease in 2016 at the age of 35. I listened to this album about a year ago after stumbling on it in a Facebook group that I follow. And I know you know which group I'm talking about. Yep.
Sure do.
This album is raw, heartbreaking, human, and a beautiful representation of grief and loss. It is written saying in a diary-like format, listing dates and times and settings, and significant moments within Genevieve's disease and Phil's feelings at the time. I did not know at the time of last episode that Phil Esserum of Mount Eerie was at all the machine behind the microphones. I did not know that. So when you told me that
That's
at the end
awesome.
of the episode, I did not know at all.
Yeah, I was like, what have you done? Because he's clearly depressed in this album
Oh,
too.
yes.
Yeah. And then just kind of knowing, like, listening to it with the context that later on some really real tragedy hits him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think it didn't change the experience totally, but I don't know, it made it's just a predictive album of of Mount Erie, which
Yeah.
it's literally just the microphones. He just changed the name.
Yeah. Yeah. So I continued. I really enjoyed listening to A Crow Looked at Me, despite the amount of pain it caused. Call me a masochist. But I revisited A Crow Looked at Me just to compare notes. So I did re-listen to parts of A Crow Looked at Me. So this was a really depressive week for me.
I bet.
Low energy, depressive week. As
It's
well
funny
as,
because I compared. I listened to every other Mount Erie but that one
yeah.
to compare it to the microphone.
So then we can do that. I listened to that one, and you listened to, and you sent me a snippet of other Mount Erie stuff I haven't heard before, so that was helpful too.
Yeah, I wasn't about to touch it. Girl looked at me. But
Yeah,
you're
and,
braver
and
than I.
but and in leading off of that, this will not be an album that we as a podcast will dedicate a full episode or review to ever. And that's mostly to me in respects to the Alvarum family, just because the subject matter is so personal to them. I don't think it's fair for us to reflect or cast any opinions on somebody singing and writing about their grief. So if you ever want to listen to it, it is heartbreaking and it'll leave you saddened. There's a video game kind of almost in the same vein of A Crow Looked at Me. It's called That Dragon Cancer, and it's about parents. It's a video game, and it's about their kid, their child son dying from cancer. It kind of has a similar feel to A Crow Looked at Me.
It's a video game?
Yep, true story of these parents suffering grieving through the loss of their son.
Wow.
Yeah, so heavy stuff. But that's all I'm going to talk about really right now as far as A Crow Looked at Me. That's just some background information of my first experience of Phil Elverum and kind of the experience I've had with his style. Because a lot of it's still similar from 2000,
2001.
2001?
This album came out today.
20 years ago
20
on
years
9/11,
ago.
2001.
Yeah.
And Jordan actually told me that before we came down here today.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. She said she follows somebody who was saying, happy 20th birthday to one of my favorite albums. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
this album was released like on 2001, 9/11. Yeah. Crazy.
Was that? That was back when, because wasn't 9/11 on a Tuesday? That's back when new music used to come out on Tuesdays, remember? Before, it used to be Friday, or it's Friday now, but I think it used to be New Music Tuesday, so. Because I remember it was like during the middle of the week. Or,
I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. It's not significant. I don't know why I was thinking of that.
Man, I don't know.
But yeah, that's crazy that album came out on that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think
I don't know who was buying music that day. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we can move on from that though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, this week has been interesting week of listening. I just recently did another listen through of this just to gather some more notes, kind of some more thoughts. And I agree with you. The more I listened to this, the more I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
What did you think of the first track, the first opening track?
So, I think Microphones was the first like introduction I had to Phil, and I heard, I never did a full listen to on this album, but it was like a few years ago. I was in that Facebook group because I was trying to expand my listening palette beyond just being into metal music, which is normally what I listen to. So I got into a lot of post rock and then a lot of more I guess experimental type music. That kind of fell on my radar, but I listened to it in the car, and I feel like this is an album that requires a specific type of setting and like attention, because it's not like something you want to like jam to or like cruise around listening to.
I agree.
So I listened to the first 3 tracks, and I actually really liked it, but I'd never really made it beyond those 3, because I just feel like, and it's actually kind of true that like the most explosive part is at the beginning of this album. It kind of goes into this, it gets a little more, I guess, calmer later on. I mean, there's a couple of bigger moments, but
Yeah.
Yeah, track one, I liked it, but it was also a little difficult at the time because I've never been used to something that's so raw and organic and flawed.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me is that this is their third album, and I did listen to the one before it, and it was experimental in a sense, but it still seemed a little more put together. And that made it more interesting because it's like this album is so like what's the word? Almost adolescent in a way. Kind of it sounds amateur in recording, but then when you really pick apart stuff, you're like, there's so much to pull out. There's so many layers. There's
Textures.
There's a lot of great instrumentation too, and sometimes it does come together really well, and other times it seems like the songs could fall apart at any moment.
Yeah, I agree.
And the more I listen to that, the less I think this is like bad production and more just like kind of impressive. Like the fact that he put a little bow on this and said this is done, when there's like literal like buzzing from the guitars and all these little moments. But
there are literally parts in this album where like you have that background fuzz and you can hear in the recording somebody manually dialing down whatever it is to take the fuzz away. Like you can tell that somebody is knobbing something or doing something to remove it. It's weird. Like I noticed it. I don't remember what track it was, but there's a track where there's guitar buzz and then it's just like you hear somebody kind of like rocking the knob and then it goes away.
it's really cool. Like
Yeah.
And it's kind of a testament to like how we used to record things, on
Analog. Yeah.
And I almost feel like since you and I record music, and I've recently moved away from like a more raw production to kind of a more focused and cleaner type of recording. And I almost long for a little bit more life in some of like my recordings, because I don't know, we work so hard to like make things perfect now.
But that's where you miss out on that texture like we're talking about. I know I say that word a lot, but like you do get a lot of that kind of the graininess.
Yeah.
The sometimes the fuzz is good. It's a part of it, right? Some of the sounds, just kind of stuff they have going on. So there's a part in the first track and throughout the album where it sounds like they're like shuffling a deck of cards.
Yeah,
And it's so high, like that bite is so high definition.
yeah. I don't know what that is.
It sounds like cards being, but it could also be maybe like a rain stick or something, like kind of like Alter Plagues was doing.
maybe he's like talking about, that's part of the descriptive lyrics where he's kind of talking about, nature. Bless you.
Thank you.
So I feel like, that was just I don't know, like some type of little immersion technique to kind of get you into the lyrics.
Yeah. I didn't do as much of a dive on the lyrics as I wish I did. The stuff I did listen to was kind of out there bizarre. I made a few notes and stuff that I did hear. First track, my general thoughts on it, Brock, was I really liked that little medley. It was really kind of charming, uplifting. It was like a really kind of a cute, whimsical, kind of like dun 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 dun.
I got a lot of these songs stuck in my head.
Yeah, it's really cute, and then you're like, oh, I can kind of drift away to this.
Yeah.
This is sweet, and then just some guy like out of nowhere, just with a fucking cymbal, just fucking distorted and clipping. They don't give a fuck. Just out of nowhere, just like pulls a rug underneath you, and then it's gentle, playful, and then out of nowhere, and then it just kind of goes into the Glow Part Two, which just starts aggressively. It's just aggressive. It's just a wall of noise and sound with like crazy ass drums, and this is recurrent throughout the album.
I was shocked the first time I heard that because I was thinking, I think I must have heard Neutral Milk Hotel first because like
I heard a lot of over there in the airplane over the sea in this album.
they went so much further though, or like
They did,
beyond.
but there's so much influence. Like I was joking around in my head. It's just like this sounds like neutral glow microphone motel or something.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me a little too much of in the aeroplane over the sea.
Yeah.
At times they do take I agree with you. Sometimes it does take it a notch further than just that.
Yeah, I see it, and the reason I bring that up is like that's what I was expecting out of, hearing an experimental indie folk album. But to see how much distortion he threw in and how messy and raw it was, I did not expect that. Because the first song you're like, oh, is this going to be a little coffee house, you know, singer songwriter type deal where I'm going to be sad. And then to like have that, like, and like the Glow Part Two, I don't think I've ever heard a song that kind of shapes and shifts like that. Like to go from that heavy to back to like singing songwriter type thing, but then like that's when we get like our first moment of like this like super dramatic like piano and like some really nice like low end frequencies that like almost make it seem like you're in a storm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
then
then
when he like holds out that note for like ever, and like his like the microphone he used must have been shitty as hell because of how it like kind of buzzes when he goes a little too high, or something compression wise wasn't quite tuned in the way you probably would in a modern production. But I don't know, I think that song is like awesome.
The second one? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is The Glow Part 2 is the name of the song, I believe. Yeah.
They're both great because they need each other.
A lot of indie bands, and I've seen a lot of live shows where it's just like indie stuff. Like I saw a show literally in a guy's garage in the middle of indie. And a lot of like times, and if you watch them on YouTube, like they just go crazy. They have fun, they don't care really. Like the noises that they make are the noises that they make, and it's loud and it's aggressive and fuzzy, and they just have fun doing it. And I got that vibe definitely from the first track, and the second track. I mean, well, and probably the first, and then after that, it goes to a weird vocal of "I took off my shirt." Yeah. It's like, okay, dude, cool.
Yeah.
In the summer.
I read the lyrics to that, and it talks about how his shoulders are golden, and then he says, now they're not. And I was like, oh, he's talking about like youth and decay. I get it now. And I always thought he said, I forgot my socks, but he says, it's actually, I forgot my songs.
Yeah, I think
this whole time I've been thinking it's that, and I'm like, okay, that's weird. Mm-hmm. Now it makes a lot more sense.
I can't get through September without a battle.
Yeah, that's honestly the most like, I don't know, spine-tingling moments on the album.
And then one of the cool lyrics, and then it has like loud, like kind of like pipe organs kind of pumping throughout it. And then my chest still draws breath. So it like you're saying, kind of like that life and decay, kind of that theme. And then he's still living, he's still breathing, things like that.
I don't know if he had like, if he's like trying to recount a near-death experience he had, but I don't know, it's not very clear why he's outside and all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm alive, this is great.
Yeah, maybe not as glowing as I used to be, but I'm still breathing.
Yeah,
perhaps.
But like overall, the lyrics kind of hint towards a breakup, and overall, I mean, there's like life and death all over it. I mean, I'd hate to jump to the last track, but it kind of makes sense because like, did you listen to the whole thing?
I did. I just listened to all the way down to Samurai Sword. And I think I got to shoot, what is the last track's name?
Oh, My Warm Blood.
My Warm Blood. Yeah, that one's interesting.
Yeah, it took me a minute to get that one until I listened to the lyrics and kind of he literally dies in that song, and then there's like this heartbeat. Yeah. And it's like dun, 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 then it stops, and then there's like all this just fuzz. There's that noise that's all over the album. Yeah. And then you can kind of hear, like, really faintly the intro song going dun, 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 dun. Yeah. So it's like we're spending, like, 6 minutes in, like, the afterlife of Phil's mind.
Fuck.
Because the first time I listened to it, I was expecting an epic build-up of a song. I was like, is this going to be some Godspeedy Black Emperor shit or something? But then it wasn't. It was, like, a song and then, like, 7 minutes of drone and ambience. But kind of knowing the context now, I appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, I noted. And then about 3 minutes and 30 seconds into that track is when you get kind of a nice rhythm. Like the drums have a nice kind of like upbeat kind of rhythm to it, and then you kind of get those like plucky kind of what you kind of hear is kind of like Midwestern type sounding emo kind of math rock kind of guitar plucky sounds.
Which song?
I think that is
the last track.
The Glow Part Two. Now I'm not talking. I'm not
yeah.
talking about that track anymore.
Okay.
I'm going back to the second track.
My apologies.
Oh, dude, yours fine. I didn't clarify, but it's yeah. So I really like that part. So far so good. I liked a lot of the stuff so far. And then I mentioned the moon. So the moon has a nice drive to it, nice moody and dissonant horn. So it has like saxophones and stuff, kind of like parts where it's more dissonant, some parts where it kind of, is a little less dissonant. This is probably the track that made me think the most of In the Aeroplane Over the Sea, just with the horns and the saxophones kind of over. It kind
Pretty
of
straightforward song, but
yeah.
they just take it a little weirder in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. It's a little weirder, a little more out there. They kind of push the line a little bit more as far as what's, the boundaries of noise and how wonky can we make this sound before somebody like turns that off.
But
right?
I love how the horns just come in clear as day
They do, yeah.
over the really rough guitars. And
Yep.
even how there's that acoustic intro, and all of a sudden you just hear the drums go 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's like not even a clean segue.
It's not, no.
Yeah, they're just like, all right, we're done with that shit. Let's go on.
Well, that's what I noticed with this too. We talked about this last episode with Altar of Plagues. Like they said, fuck transitions. We're just gonna whenever the next thing comes, it comes. And this does almost the same thing. There's a lot of similarities, strangely enough, with the last album we listened to.
Yeah.
A lot of the kind of digital distortion. It's very similar to Altar of Plagues. I think it was the beginning of. I made a comparison in my notes, and we'll probably get to it. But there's a track in here that, something -1. Do you remember that track?
Yeah, that's a really noisy song, right?
It comes out with an Altar Plagues, kind of like digital static, and it's has horrific sounds. It kind of has that horrifying kind of sound to it, right? So it's weird how listening to these tracks and these albums, these fast few weeks, it's how many similarities even in these genres kind of overlap. It's strange.
Yeah, do you think James Kelly was even listening to microphones?
I don't know,
who
honestly.
knows? He might have been. I mean, because
Yeah.
he seems to pull shit from other stuff besides metal.
Yeah.
I didn't really catch that either. That was good.
Yeah. But the moon, I liked it. I liked the moon. Nice, moody, dissonant horns. It was nicer. It was a nicer track to listen to. I liked the instrumental. Next after that is really nice too. Just track titled instrumental.
Yeah, actually, I really love both of the instrumental songs.
Instrumental 1 and 2.
It's normally in a lot of albums, I don't really care about your interludes or your
Right.
instrumentals, and I'm like, man, the piano playing on instrumental 1, and
I liked it.
yeah, it was awesome. The biggest sin some of these songs commit is not being long enough.
Yeah, I agree. And then some of them kind of have parts that are drawn out for a while. That's the thing I appreciated a lot of these different rhythms and things they did, going back to even the first track. They held out that little sweet rhythm longer than you would expect a normal band to do it.
Yeah.
It's a lot more measures on the same thing where you kind of are sitting there, it's okay, when are we gonna...
Yeah, sometimes, it's something's not right here.
Yeah.
Because it seems so happy. It's probably the happiest song.
Yeah. And then I threw in there, I like the piano trills that were kind of thrown over in the instrumental 1. It was nice. The piano was a nice touch.
Yeah. And then I guess Headless Horseman. I liked how flawed the guitar is, and all the buzzing, that you'd probably cut out or redo if you're recording on your own. That's left in there, and lyrically, that seems to be the most clear song on the whole album. I mean, he's talking about how he's clearly talking about a breakup and going out, and his shit's outside, and
Yeah.
yeah. And then I don't know. My Roots Are Strong and Deep. It's a cool song too. It's not very long.
No, it's a very short track too.
Yeah, kind of an interesting beginning too, and then
Yeah.
the dun 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 when the piano comes in.
Yeah. The album has a lot of those nice little spots where it kind of kicks in with the nice, but they never kind of contradicting what I said earlier, but some of those nice little things don't stick around as long as you'd like them to sometimes.
Yeah, and it's in those moments that you realize there's really competent musicians working on this. It's not like just some like crappy lo-fi recording, some kid who just picked up a guitar just decided to record in their room. Like there's some real stuff going on here. Like that's where I go back to like how it's just rare that you find something that it's this raw yet this organic and like to a degree it's very not pretentious, where a lot of times you would think if I describe this type of album to you, you would say that sounds like a bunch of pretentious bullshit.
Right.
Like it, because it's not the first time I've heard a lo-fi recording, but I've just never heard it done like this to where I'm like, yeah, that's okay. Where before, if it was a different band, I'd be like, this is just you're doing it for the sake of doing it.
Right. Yeah. So then, kind of moving on from that, Mansions, again, is very characteristic of Phil's moody lyrics, singing style, atmosphere, the gently strummed guitars, kind of a nice moment in the album again there.
Yeah, I love this track. I remember the first time I was like, man, they're like making this like rainstorm sound.
Yeah.
And then they literally have like rainstorm sounds that come out later in it. And I don't know, it's like probably the moodiest song, which might be why I like it. And just like all the layers that come out. And there's like these like reversed notes that almost sound like it's a violin, but I'm not sure. It could be a guitar that they maybe played, with a, I don't know how you would have done it back then to like reverse something. But I don't know what some of those instruments are, if it is a violin or not, but I don't know, it's like super atmospheric, and
yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and kind of the layered vocals were cool too.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed at a point in this album, each track kind of ends the same at a certain point. It ends with like a dun, and it kind of makes me think of like, and this is totally out of left field, but kind of makes me think of like the intro to like I think 10,000 Days or Wings for Marie from, you know what I'm talking about? It kind of has that, like you were saying, with like the rain.
Yeah.
And it kind of had, like when I was listening to it, it's like, it sounds like it's about ready to like pick into Tool. Boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. Yeah, like
It's like a weird horn sound that's kind of tying everything together. But I don't know, I'd like to think of it as like supposed to be a heartbeat or something.
Yeah.
Some type of drone.
Yeah. And then it goes into Something, which is an interesting, quiet, cello atmospheric track, which is really short.
Yeah.
And that Something was interesting. And when I was listening to it, like I had a flashback to when we were at that Swans concert, and the opener to that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they just drown us out and like
that woman with the cello.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
The opener. Yeah.
Yeah, the opener, the woman with the cello
She's
who
playing like horror music.
Oh my
on cello.
god, she like it sounded like she was murdering the fucking thing.
Yeah.
It
She comes
sounded
out-
like a horror movie soundtrack. That was
Yeah.
insane, and she was doing it for like a lot longer than I thought she would be doing it too. Like me and you were like front row, and we're just like, okay, this is cool. We're ready for Swans, but like she's just like annihilating this cello.
And she comes out, and you think like, oh, she's gonna play like Canon and D
Yeah.
or some like wedding music as you're about to enter into a mixer, and then you remember that guy who was like talking super loudly, and he had like 3 beers in his hand.
Yeah,
She just stared at him until he shut up, and then she started playing.
she did
It was
too.
like, you will respect me.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And then everyone else was dead silent during the whole thing.
She had an energy to her for sure. It was,
Yeah, I would not want to piss her off.
Well, then Michael Gira comes on stage, and it's like, okay, that was such a cool show. I think that was fun. It was in Cincinnati, and that was such a cool concert. And what was crazy about it is like I kept making eye contact with the drummer, and he was just going crazy. And I could tell he noticed we kept making eye contact, so it kind of got a little bit awkward at a certain point. I wasn't trying to, but I'd look up and he was like looking at me. I was like, okay.
Well, you remember when we went outside?
I think he was just focusing, but like
Yeah.
he was just kind of like on a single point, and that just happened to be me because we were so close to the stage.
Maybe he liked you.
Maybe.
Yeah. we went outside and like they were standing outside the band and they were like, "Hey, you guys look familiar." And we're like, "You look familiar." Fuck you mean? Yeah.
You were able to give them your music at that time, right?
Yeah.
That was so cool. And you got a picture with Michael too. I
Yeah.
took it. Yep.
You took it. That's
Yeah.
right.
That was such a
I
cool
just
show.
love that band so much more than this one.
Okay, we're gonna talk about swans for the rest of the album, this episode. That was such a cool show. That was a last minute thing too, wasn't it? It was just like, hey, buddy, you want to go
Yeah.
to Cincinnati
I was like,
with
"Are
me?
you off Monday or Tuesday? Because
Yeah.
it's either Cincinnati or Cleveland. I don't know the difference."
Yeah, that was probably one of the more fun shows I think I've been to, just because it was such a small venue, and we kind of hit up a nice little hipster kind of beer garden when we were there. It was fun. And then we went to the show. I think we saw like the steel guitarist was just roaming the streets of Cincinnati before the show.
That's right.
You remember that? We recognized him when we got to the show. Like, that's the guy we've been seeing just wandering around this whole time.
Yeah, I'm like, this guy doesn't belong here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so cool. That was. I think I have permanent hearing damage from that show, though.
What? Good one, Dad.
You're funny.
Thanks.
All right. Then something -1 comes out of the woodwork. I was talking about this earlier with the Altar of Plagues-esque digital static and absolutely horrific sounds. Very short again. And then after that, the album returns back to guitar and uplifting chords and strumming in I'll Not Contain You.
Yeah.
And it has uplifting timpani hits.
Those are awesome, man.
Is the bum 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 bum.
Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another highlight track for me.
Yeah.
I like that melody. I think that song gets stuck in my head quite a bit.
Yeah, that one is a good one. I like that. I like because it had a nice little, I think one of the things you gather from a raw album like this that you don't get in a lot of contemporary, recordings, things like that, is true dynamics.
Yeah.
A lot of music's really flat.
It's so compressed these days.
It's compressed and flat. Everything's the same volume. And when you get something like this where things are quiet, and then you get the timpani that comes up, you don't get a whole lot of that. In pop music, you don't get a lot of that. And a lot of stuff that's recorded. And if you go to say a live orchestra,
You're getting it there. Yeah.
you're getting dynamics. Mm-hmm. And you don't get a whole lot of that, I don't think. But this definitely has that, with the timpani hits, like I was saying there.
I think that's why, I listen to a lot of stuff in the car, and I feel like this album is not good in the car.
I didn't mind it. I think most of my listening to this was, I actually just listened to it on my sound bar, and it was fine. And I listened to it in my car, and I still kind of got like the effects you were talking about, where
Yeah.
like it kind of is different with each speaker. If you were listening to it in a headphone, I did listen to it, not in a good pair of headphones, mind you, but I did listen to it.
Well, you don't need a good pair. It wasn't recorded on a good equipment. So.
Well, yeah, but
Well,
like,
I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm just guessing.
we don't know. But
Yeah, I don't know. The car for me, like, I feel like that's why these days music is so compressed. Like, they want to bring all the low sounds up and all the high sounds down to make it flat. And it sounds good in your car. And But yeah, I think a good pair of headphones. But also in my car, you're sitting on the left side, so you have to kind of adjust your speakers so that you can kind of get both flavors of guitar.
I didn't, where I was sitting in my car driving, I think I got it.
Oh, you sit in the middle?
Sometimes I lean kind of over the counts, like the center armrest a little bit when I'm driving. Little
Because I'm a
lean.
lefty, but I usually put
I drive with my left hand.
Okay.
Yep, and I kind of lean.
I do with my left. Yeah, and then sometimes right if I want to stick my arm out the window like a trucker, but I don't drive a truck.
But I didn't think it was necessary, really, to listen to this. Maybe I missed out on something I don't really know I missed out on. I couldn't work and listen to this, and that is probably the thing that I really took away from this is not liking, is that, I could listen to Alter and be fine. I can listen to The Suburbs and work because it has a drive to it. If I was trying to work, punch in some case notes and stuff, and it was putting me to sleep. I couldn't do it. It would put me to sleep, and then it would come back with a wall of sound and be like, distract me. It would distract me, and then I was like, now I'm all over I couldn't work. I know you mentioned this too. This isn't something that you can just drive and bop to. This isn't something that you can just put on when you're doing chores.
Yeah. It needs attention.
It needs, yeah, this requires attention, and it's not something to just put on while you're doing something. It's something I took from it. I don't know if that's just personal to me, but I am pretty picky as far as what I can listen to when I'm working, and this just did not fit that for me. So okay, so we just talked about something -1. And then we talked about I'll Not Contain You. You said you really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the layered vocals in this track too.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the Gleam Part 2, which has a warlike chanting vibe to it. Did you get that from that one? That's the one where it's just kind of like, it has a really rhythm.
I was getting more funeral dirge vibes.
That too.
Yeah.
I could see that too.
Like we're marching to death.
It's like a marching kind of. I could see that too. Maybe like a.
That's the biggest like song I wish was longer. Like
the Gleam Part 2.
Yeah, like it just had this build up that I was all for, and it was like a minute and a half, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't long.
Like I could have gone all day with like that, but it's because I'm a Swans fan, so
that's true.
It had some Swans energy to it.
Boom, boom, boom.
Or maybe Swans has Gleam energy because they really. Well, I don't know. They're a mixed bag.
Swans.
Oh yeah, Swans.
The glowing microphone.
Bro. I didn't even think about that.
The glowing.
That's an album if you don't know.
The Glowing
Swans.
Man.
The Glowing Man.
Yep. So the Gleam Part 2, I like the flutes that were incorporated in this track. Nice and fluty.
I didn't even notice there were flutes.
There was flutes.
Fuck me.
There was flutes. I have a keen ear for flutes.
Okay.
My mother is a flautist.
That's great.
So,
mine was a flautist too.
Yeah. Wow. That's another thing we have in common.
Yeah. I don't know. I only noticed him in Jethro Tull. What?
And is there the only? I think the only Jethro Tull song I know is Aqualung.
Yeah, there's a flute.
Yeah, I think
you know locomotive breath.
I probably do.
Dun, 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 dun,
be careful, Brock. That's just too accurate. We might get pulled. Yeah, we
might get a DMCA strike.
You're just so good at it. We really need to stop. We need to put you on mute when you do that.
Yeah.
It's too accurate.
They don't care about podcasts that aren't popular.
Hey, we're self-aware, huh?
Yeah. If they only care if you're successful, then they're like, whoa there, buddy. Same with like copyright and music. Like,
true.
Yeah, you can rip off somebody as long as you don't get famous for it.
That's true. All right, so we just talked about
It's so weird that we're going track by track.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way that I can do this one because we haven't done this yet so far. But
that's how I had to listen to it.
The same.
Yeah.
And this is probably one that we do have to kind of do track by track, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like it makes sense. I'm not saying this is bad. This
makes sense for this one, I think. The instruments are dissonant, kind of a staple of this album. Dissonant stuff, probably not completely in tune. I don't think there was a tuner in the studio, probably not.
Nah, fuck that.
Okay, so we're going on to my least favorite track.
Really?
Maps.
This is fun.
I hated the intro. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Yeah? It's like bagpipes, squeaks, bagpipes. Going back to bagpipes, man. My stroke and aneurysm I had from last episode. The fucking bagpipes. Airbags. God damn it. Okay, but Maps, probably my least favorite on this album. The squeaks, easily least favorite. I played saxophone all throughout high school, parts of middle school, and when you squeak a reed on a saxophone, it just sends a shock up your spine, and whenever I hear it, it's like that PTSD of that. And this just has squeaks, and I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't cope with it, man. So the first part of it, and then about 2.5 minutes into Maps, we have a cool little melody.
Dun, 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 dun,
it's nice.
Dun, dun, dun.
I gave it that. Like the first half of Maps, it was intolerable.
It would not have been a great song if it weren't for that, but the fact that that's in there and they can like pull back, do that, loved it.
I mean,
I love squeaks, by the way.
I hate squeaks.
Oh my god, I love when a sax just goes nuts. That's how you know.
Like just thinking about
it. Good avant-garde.
Just thinking about it makes me like shiver.
Yeah, that's the one way to make a bunch of neckbeards go, "Oh, this is interesting." If you have a squeaky saxophone, they're like, "Oh my god, this is genius." Yeah.
I shaved my neck, so.
That's okay. I don't know, man. I thought Maps was epic, dude.
Dude, I didn't like it.
Oh my god, all the instruments. It's like they brought everybody in and they're like, just go for it.
I said the end of the track is a bop for sure. I did like
But
this.
then it goes back into it.
The latter half is better. The drum beat is really groovy. A nice little piano stings. The piano stings that it has kind of going. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
But the first half is completely unlistenable to me. I can't.
Damn, dude.
I can't. That's just my opinion on it.
I don't know. Sometimes there are frequencies that aren't great to someone's ears.
And that's this for me. I just couldn't. I tried my best to give it the benefit. I was like, like I like walls of sound at times. Like one wall of sound. I think my favorite. God, we're just gonna be talking about swans this whole episode. But one of my favorite walls of sound is and then oh yeah, and then it just goes yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it's so. What is that? Little God in my hands.
Yeah. Well, someone compressed
Screenshot.
that. No. Little God in my hands.
Okay, it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Well, anytime Swans does a wall of sound,
It's so good.
it's so good.
It's so
Like,
good.
It's so formulaic, but
Yeah.
no one does it as good as they do.
It's so good. But this was not good.
I think it's okay.
Was not good.
I mean, it was fine for me at least. It didn't hurt me like it did you.
It hurt me. It touched me.
Oh god.
Where on this doll did this song touch?
The ear.
It burns my ears. It was an ear burner.
Yeah, no shit, dude.
It was an
fucking
ear
topical.
Ear burner. So Maps, you liked the beginning. I liked the end of it. You liked the end of it too, but
Clearly the middle end is better.
yeah, it is. It is. We can agree on that.
Yeah.
I've said the strings and accordion they sound layered nicely. I like those. That at the end was nice.
That's your least favorite track though?
Yes.
Wow. You know what mine was?
Huh.
I felt my size.
Yeah. Those I couldn't listen to those and take the song seriously, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, because like that. I'm skipping ahead, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what the fuck is that?
Yep. Next one I mentioned in here, You'll Be in the Air, which has a pretty fun chord progression. Has a nice folk sound again. Again, Phil's typical vocal style. It's just Phil's. Like he doesn't have much range. And he doesn't.
You know, so my girlfriend is a singer, and
Yeah.
she's very critical of singers.
Yeah.
So indie folk, I don't think there's a singer that is that good in her mind.
Okay, so
But-
that's Rachel's thoughts.
Yeah, but I've asked her, I'm like, what do you want them to do? Because I feel like if they were doing something vocally impressive, I don't know if it would work with this type of like instruments. You know, it probably wouldn't do it justice. So I don't know, what do you do if you don't have Phil's whiny little mumbly voice that he mixes extra low?
More modern, like folky sound, like singing. They do weird inflections with their R's and their A's.
Yeah, like-
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, or like even Arcade Fire, like he rarely shows like a level of emotion that I don't know captivates me. It's like
Right.
the vocals are the last thing I care about.
or you can do like a Bon Iver, which is just like falsetto.
See, I don't even.
Come
I,
on, it's getting over happy. Stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I haven't listened to much of them, but I don't even think about like what that guy sounds like.
He just sounds like that. We saw him. So when we saw Dead and Company, this is
Oh
funny.
my god, that was him.
That was Bon Iver.
I hate that guy.
That
sounded like shit.
it was awful.
Uh-huh.
It was. He did Friend of the Devil live at that show,
Yeah.
and it was in.
You ruined that song.
It was bad. It was really bad. Like I was like, holy shit! They just brought Bon Iver, and this was in Milwaukee.
When did you figure out it was Bon Iver and not Bon Iver?
Bon Iver.
It's that Bon Iver guy. Yo, Bon, play that fucking song, Bon.
Jordan rolls her eyes whenever because she says Bon Iver, and I'm like, honey,
Well,
it's Bon Iver.
well, I feel like
Bon Iver.
you do look like you're consciously thinking about it when you say it.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to hit it right.
Yeah.
It's like people that say Iran instead of Iran.
There are like a couple Bon Iver songs I do like Holocene and and Skinny Love, but Skinny Love, yeah, it's pretty good. But that live at Dead and Company was, and he was off beat too. It was bad. It was so bad.
Yeah, I thought it was the bass player for a second, but I'm like, no,
No,
he sounds great normally.
O'Teal is great.
Yeah.
No, that was no. They brought, because I think that's his stomping grounds in that area. So like they brought him on. That was where was that? That was
That was in Alpine
what was the name?
Valley.
Alpine.
Uh-huh.
Alpine. Yep.
Yeah. He's from Wisconsin?
I think
Damn.
I can look it up. But
Just because
anyways,
you live in an area doesn't mean you should be invited on stage.
oh, he was just in
How
town.
fucking entitled are you?
Oh,
You
Garish.
should let me on there.
Oh,
You got that-
Garish. We
that
got
John
Bon Iver.
Mayonnaise guy up there. Why don't you let me up there for a tune?
Oh, John Mayer.
Dokily.
I got my guitar, and I got a little cheese and some
He's,
brewskis.
he's probably like, can I borrow a guitar? I don't have mine.
Y'all gotta
Like,
smoke.
you're that asshole at the gig.
God. Oh my God. That was truly horrid.
How do we
No,
get there?
I don't remember, but that was truly horrid. We're talking about folk style inflections and singing styles, and talking about how Phil's is kind of like, well, what do you expect him to do?
Yeah.
And
Well, like, even think like Bob Dylan. Does anyone?
hey, but I can't even do a Bob
Yeah,
Dylan
no
impression.
one-
That was
no one's
like,
like, yo, Bob Dylan should teach vocal lessons or be on The Voice.
No,
Isn't
no.
he dead? I don't know.
no.
He's not dead.
Bob Dylan?
He's dead.
He's kicking it.
Oh, he's alive.
Yeah.
Oh, good
He's
for him.
still writing
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
If he was on The Voice, I'd...
Jordan has seen Bob Dylan live.
Oh.
Yeah. She said it was
Nice.
awful.
well, he never sounded good.
Oh, that's true. There's the times I can't sing that one. That one will get us
Like
fucked.
Johnny Cash, he's not good.
Oh, I love Johnny Cash's
Yeah,
vocals.
he's not a good singer.
I love his vocal. I love Johnny Cash's voice.
I know, I love it too, but he's not a good singer.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think he's okay.
He's got like he
Hot take, Brock.
He
Hot
can do like
take.
one octave,
Yeah, he's very low.
which I don't know. Singing, I guess it shouldn't be totally rated on like your range, but I don't know.
Well, if you're an alto, you're an alto. If you're a tenor, you're a tenor. Or if you're a
Yeah.
soprano, you're a
Back
soprano.
to my point. What should Phil do? I don't know.
I don't know.
Do you want him to sing lower?
Just get a little bit. He does a lot more inflections in A Crow Looked at Me. This, even in, okay, so Samurai Sword. Let's go to the fucking Samurai Sword, okay? And this is probably my second least favorite track on the album. In that, like, it's doing this, like, and he's just, you can't even fucking hear him. He's just sing-talking underneath the noise.
That's actually what I like about
I
it.
hated it. Like,
I love the juxtaposition. I'm like, normally you would be
it's so
losing your
lethargic.
shit over this.
It's so lethargic. It's like, what is happening? I even made a comment on here. It's like, how did you even get that crazy ass, nasty ass guitar sound? Did you plug it into an easy bake oven? Did you plug your guitar to a pedal that you threw against a brick wall, pissed on it, and then lit it on fire? How do you get that guitar tone that you get in Samurai
Actually,
Sword?
He ran the guitar through the mic input on a thrift store cassette deck, then out the headphone jack into the amp.
Oh my fucking
That's
god!
awesome.
So I'm not far off.
That's awesome.
I'm not far off.
He wanted that sound. He sounded more black metal than
Oh my God.
a black metal band. Burzum wouldn't even think of that.
Oh my god! It's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
I love it.
You can't make out whatever is happening. It's just
Yes.
oh
I think
man, that's
what
where
he
we're
wanted.
that's
He
where
wanted-
we're different.
He wanted to it's the last song. He wanted to literally like
And
melt everything.
Samurai Sword is not the last song.
It's the second last. It might
Yeah.
as well be the last song.
Yeah, but no, Warm Blood is like 10 minutes long almost.
Right, but it just does that thing and then it fades
Yeah.
out. Like
I see.
it's like the climax, we'll say that.
I can see that. But back to
I love how it comes in too, like because I felt my size, or no, I felt your shape. That's the song.
keep it coming. Oh god.
No, just the way it comes in, just like balls to the wall. Because
Yeah. So we
it's not my
talked.
favorite, but I like it.
It's my second least behind. Actually, no. I'm gonna say it's my first least favorite, and then
Yeah, because you
There was
said
parts-
way more redeeming things about maps.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm gonna switch that up. Maps is probably my second least.
I will say for Samurai Sword, I love the tones, the sound, the distortion. I love Phil's shitty vocals mixed super low to where you have to focus to hear it, but you feel like you're in this cacophonous, like, tomb that you can't escape from. The biggest fault of it is that I can't tell the beginning from the end. It has no evolution. It's just there and then it goes away. There's nothing new from the beginning to the end that I can pick out. Maybe if I listen to it a bunch, there may be some other little thing, but it's not super present.
Yeah.
And I will say Phil gets better at this sound on later Mount Erie tracks of like walls of distortion that sound really cool.
Yeah. And then going back in progression of the tracks we were doing, I wanted.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine, because it goes right in hand with what you're saying. So I want to be cold. I audibly yelled, "Oh shit!" when this track came in, because it's just, again, a wall of noise that just slams in the first second.
Laughed. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, I was just
I
like,
forgot you could do this.
yeah, it just came right out of the gate from the last track, and then just bam! I want to be cold, and I put, these guitars are so muddy, I can't make out any of it. And what I can make out is not good. That's what I put. I can barely hear Phil, which I'm not surprised by, and that Phil is very low energy in nature.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to anybody. Phil, I love your work. I love your poetry-esque and your poetry, like your writing. But dude, you put me to sleep, man, sometimes.
It's interesting that there are some of the quietest songs are when Phil is the loudest.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was all on purpose
Okay.
because of that. Like there were moments where he really inflects. Like he does it on I Felt My Size, for one. I don't like how he did it, but he really gets expressive. And then he did it on what song? There was another song like earlier on where he was it You'll Be in the Air? Where his voice like breaks.
I think so.
Oh yeah, my note says that must be true.
Pretty fun chord progression, nice folk sound. Again, Phil's typical vocal style is all I put down for that one.
Oh well, yeah, he gets really like emotional in that one. Yeah, You'll Be in the Air. He does it there.
Okay.
So, like the fact that he does that there and he doesn't do it on like the heaviest songs, I feel like there is some intention behind that.
Yeah.
And it must be to showcase some sort of like juxtaposition. Like the song's as explosive as possible, yet he's as like calloused and indifferent to it all as he possibly can be. It must tie into like his whole theme of like I'm dying and shit.
Yeah.
Like, even in his most like epic moments, he like doesn't seem like he even cares.
And then I want to be buried in snow. I want to be cold. Like, yeah.
Yeah. What was interesting about that is like how the song ends, but then there's like that female. I'm not sure.
It's not.
It's not her.
No,
I don't think
because
he met her till later.
there's no Wikipedia. Like, again, that's our reason. I think it was somebody else. Name started with a K that was a part of this project.
There's a huge amount of contributors.
There was, but I don't think Genevieve was involved in this.
Genevieve, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Got a good accent. But yeah, there's like that line that like it like fades out and she like says something and I'm like, was there more to this song? But you faded it out. You know what I'm talking about on the outro? She's like,
yeah, you're right. Yep, I do remember that. But I think that was like one of the few parts in this album we get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice though. It was nice. So I Am Bored is another one. Has unique rhythms and piano. But one of the things in this track that I was just like, what the fuck is this guitar section? It just goes squeak, clang.
I like that.
I know you do.
Like that call and response type.
Yeah. But like the way oh my God.
Some of these sounds, I wonder if Arcade Fire got a lot of ideas from this album. Because there's some... Like even on the Suburbs, there's a couple of songs. Like I think the Moon. I feel like I can't remember the name of it from the Suburbs, but there's a song that's super similar, as far as like being kind of a noisy like driving rock song.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the fucking name, but yeah, there's no further point I have for that other than just stating that thing. It like this album was definitely influential. We get it.
Yeah. And then we talked about its instrumental part 2 a little bit there. Like the first instrumental, it's nice. It has nice moments. Then again with the squeaks. And then there's theremin. There's like a theremin kind of sound to it.
There's like a ukulele.
They threw the kitchen sink into this album, I think, as far as instruments. Like they just threw everything and like reach into this thing. But there's like a theremin, I think. It sounds like one at least, kind of like the way it goes. Ooh. Yeah, it kind of has that sound to it. And then again, it has the dun at the end of it, which I was talking about earlier, which is kind of interesting.
Wait, are we talking about instrumental or I Felt My Size?
Instrumental part 2.
Oh. What I Felt My Size? What was that? Was that a theremin when the song like kicks in? It's like...
I think so. Why didn't I put any notes in here on I Felt My Size?
I put, what the fuck is that high-pitched noise thing when it kicks in?
It might be a theremin. It might be. I'm not sure. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah, let us know in the fucking comments.
And then I Felt Your Shape is what I put next. I Felt Your Shape has nice guitar, and I put, where has this been for the last 10 minutes?
Jesus, dude. You're hard on us.
Well, I was being honest. If you're holding a partner, this is one of the things the first listen to, I was like, what the hell is he singing about? I said, if you're holding your partner and you feel their gusty blow and lava flow, I'm sorry to inform you, that's probably not what you felt. And maybe less dates at Chipotle.
Oh, I was thinking different. Lava flow. Ew.
Ew. Yeah. You feel their gusty blow and their lava flow?
Well, one of those is okay.
Hey, babe, did you get Taco Bell for lunch today? I feel your gusty blow. Yeah. I feel your lava flow.
Woo! I'm very warm.
It is warm down here. It's usually cool down here.
No, I was just now made warm by that statement.
Oh. I see your mountain peaks. And what are the lyrics to that? It's so sensual.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I liked I was too into like that guitar lick.
It was nice. Yeah, the guitar's nice.
Yeah, it was very...
I was just caught off guard by those lyrics. It's like if you're cuddling up or like walking up to your partner in the kitchen and you're like feeling them.
What else could that mean?
And you're feeling their gusty blow and their lava flow. Like I think you just got shit on.
Have you seen movie 43?
Anna
Faris, will you poop on me? To Chris Pratt.
Ooh, that's awkward. Oh man.
So,
all right,
it's a great waste of time.
And then my next part was Jesus. Oh my God! What is this? Holy fuck! Samurai sword. Why? What is happening? Phil's low energy singing is just so bizarre with this crazy ass guitar sound. How does one obtain this sound? Is what I said, and that's when I gave my observation of it sounding like somebody threw a guitar pedal at a brick wall, pissed on it, lit it on fire, backed up on it with a truck a couple times, and then plugged into it.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I listened to too much Merzbow.
Merzbow.
Yeah.
The Merzbow.
Which happens to be our next album. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, shit. No, don't do that to me.
Yeah.
No.
You won't be able to work to that one either.
No.
Pulse Demon.
No, I couldn't do that.
I expect at least 20 listens.
No. Don't do it.
And you have to stare at the album cover the whole time while you listen to it.
Just get hypnotized.
It's moving. I swear to fuck, it's moving.
Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That's cruel and unusual.
Yeah, eventually.
I didn't get a chance to write any notes on My Warm Blood. I didn't get a chance to do that. Would you have any thoughts on that one?
I already said it. I mean,
did you have any thoughts? Any thoughts more on Samurai Sword? I know you said you liked it. You liked the way they got the sound.
No. I put, holy shit, this is huge and noisy. Then break, and then I said, back end with vocals. I just
Yeah.
described it.
That's what I've been doing too,
Yeah.
pretty much.
I don't know. I think it's cool. I like noise.
I know
music,
you do. I know
noisy
you do.
shit. Unconventional recording methods.
Yeah.
Very black metal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would make our contemporaries in Norway very proud if they listened to other music.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my favorite moments within the album would have to be the first track. I went to Wind to Blow with just the really nice. Damn.
Sorry.
Damn. We'll have to edit that out.
No, you don't have to.
Yeah, that was loud.
Did it clip?
Probably. But with the Wind to Blow, I went to Wind to Blow because I really enjoy the lighthearted melody. And it's very catchy and whimsical, something that I can just whistle to myself throughout the day. It's really nice. Dun 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 dun.
Has your wife heard this album?
No, I don't think so. But she did mention that she did give me the history of 20 years ago today. This was released on 9/11.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
leave it to Jordan to drop that information.
Hey.
Love my wife; she's great.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, what were your favorite moments on this track, on this album, I should say?
You know, I like track 1 and 2, obviously. And then the mansion, love that. I like Map. I'm sorry.
I would put the second half, the latter part of Maps, as probably one of my favorite moments. I'll do that.
And I don't know, like outside of maybe the first 2 tracks, I don't know if any of them can really stand alone. Like if I was to toss one of them in on a playlist, I don't know if it would flow very well. I feel like this
No.
album has to be done all together.
Yeah, you
because
can't.
You can't appreciate it without seeing how different each track is from one another while still maintaining the same theme and that cohesiveness. You know, later Mount Erie stuff, yeah, I could probably pull this track out or that. I mean, Wind's Poem, amazing album. Clear Moon, loved it. Like like this album is so predictive of like where Phil would take everything that I don't know. I love it. I love just how much imagination went into this and just how organic it feels. I don't think there are many albums where I feel like are that organic, especially in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Because everything's so polished now. Even in metal music, it just seems like, you know, would anyone think to like record an amp the way Phil did to get something heavy? No, we're gonna go get a preset and download it. And,
Right, true.
Or, you know,
Plug
use our
in. Yeah.
digital amp.
Yeah.
You know,
Axe effects or
rip
something.
my Vox.
Yeah. Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes those like accidental things that come together, like we're not allowing them to happen anymore.
I give them that creativity. I give them credit for
Yeah.
that. I agree with you with that much. I don't necessarily enjoy the way it came out sounding, but you know, to people who do enjoy that, you know, they did a good job at it. So
Yeah, what's cool is, and I guess interesting about Phil is how different of a listening experience it is, because nothing's too perfect ever. And I don't know, he's just such a different producer because of that you know, you don't go in expecting it to be super clean, super good all the time. Like there's always like this experimental attitude towards everything that, you know, it's probably missing in a lot of other artists.
yeah,
Because, you know, this definitely led to quite a bit of copycats. And
I agree.
I even went back and I listened to like some other like rock albums that came out around this time just to kind of like appreciate how different this probably hit back in 2001. You know, like Modest Mouse. I mean, we had Weezer back then. We had like shitty post-grunge. Then we had this little guy that came out, and it definitely made a big splash and impacted quite a bit of, you know, future artists and listeners, and I don't know. I really appreciate it. I think it's a great album. Do I always want to listen to it? No. Will I put it on all the time? Probably not. I don't think it's really meant for that. Some of my favorite albums I don't
I think that's fair
particularly
too.
play a lot.
I think that's a good point. Just because you like it and it's a good album you enjoy doesn't mean it's something that you'll put on all the time anyways. You know?
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I don't think it is something that's meant for that. It's not something necessarily like this is always your... I mean, for some people, you know, if this is your go-to, it's your go-to. But I agree with your statement as well. It's like you can't isolate any of these tracks and put it in a playlist. If you were to do that, I think the only one you could probably do that with is the first track. And I think other than that, that's it. I think you'd have a hard time throwing this in anything with any other track. But I agree with you. It took me a bit to really listen to this and pull out things I did enjoy. And this might not be something that I listen to all the time. It might be a while before I revisit it. But I can definitely say I left listening to this with a little bit more, experience with, music, that raw production. And, I learned a lot more, I think, as far as this genre and genres like it, that they were doing this at this time. And that, I didn't know. It was a good learning experience for me to know that, Paul Everum is also, not Paul, Phil, oh my God. Phil Everum is also behind the microphones, Mount Erie and all that, and how much of impact he's done on the genre and everything. And it was fun to research. I had fun researching. I like researching the stuff anyways, but that's one of the things I enjoyed about, this as well as the suburbs is learning about the roots of the band and getting to know their history. It seems with these indie bands, there's a lot more involved with their backstories and everything, being from Olympia, they still have that kind of, like even with the Arcade Fire, like that, almost that French Canadian, it's still in there,
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, because Genevieve, RIP isn't in this album, but still, it has that kind of like vibe to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it.
I liked it too. I had another thought. I can't remember what it was though. Well, I guess, I don't know. I was going to say some of my favorite albums are ones I thought were dog shit at first.
That's fair.
I did not like KO Dot or Swans.
Really? That's crazy to hear from you.
Yeah, they weren't like immediately first. I don't know what brought me back, if it was just pure pressure from like hearing the praise.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that can drive it. Like, why is this good? And then you research it. Which I guess puts us in a difficult predicament because, what makes something good? Is it because, like, did we have to go and research how this album was made and all of, like, the other projects to really appreciate it? Or, should it only be based on how enjoyable was it when you put it on? Because, like, this album, not that enjoyable at first listen.
No.
Yeah. But I guess it can be both. I definitely like when you're able to listen to it again and pull something new out and something different here and there.
It's not easy to, music I feel that is easy to digest can get boring and stagnant. I think that's what, unfortunately, is the most popular music that, out through one listen, you got the whole picture.
Yeah.
Right. It might be catchy. It might have some nice moments in it where it's like that's stuck in your head. But in music like this, you get almost a new experience every time you listen to it. And I think we miss out on a lot of that where things are a lot more easy to digest. I try to involve myself, not even just in music, but other things that, in the entertainment world that do require a little bit more thought and not so much spoon feeding of the media that it's whatever format it is. Right. So I think that this is one of those, everything we've listened to so far has been pretty layered and takes a few listens to really pull out everything it has to offer. So like Alter, Teeth, Glory, and Injury, also the Suburbs. I would say both of those. And this one, absolutely. It took me about 4 listens. With this album through and kind of meandering from track to track to thoroughly write my notes and thoughts. And that's 4 listens. And I still, the gripes I had with it were still there.
Yeah.
So I tried, Brock.
I'll say this is probably the most difficult because Arcade Fire's catchy. Altar of Plagues is catchy in their own, way if you're into that type of music.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
like, those are both gratifying to listen to jam to, but they also have a deeper layer to it, too.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. It doesn't always have to have some deeper layer either to be that good. I mean, there can be thoughtful production and even something that's easily digestible.
Yeah.
Like it's not always easy for an artist to do both at the same time, but I definitely appreciate when they do, the more difficult to consume version.
Yeah.
So then you feel like you achieve something when you're like, I get it.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
It took me a while to realize it was good.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, that's kind of my final thoughts on this album. Do you have anything else?
No, that's all I got to say about that, Chief.
Sweet. I liked it. And so now I guess is the time where we get to hear what our next album for the week is.
Yeah, dude, I was stressing myself over this.
I was talking about this a little bit last episode, how stressed and anxious I was. It's like, holy shit, like this is kind of a big decision. It's weird. And there's so many albums out there, and like you can't really mess up a whole lot with it, but yeah, so it is stressful.
Yeah.
So I give you that.
I don't know. So I'm feeling another metal album,
Okay.
which, I think might be a good change from this album. I
Okay.
don't want to be the metal guy, but I do.
Okay, that's
For
fine.
this?
That's fine.
So there's a band, they're called Zhrine. That's Zhrine. They're from Iceland. And they have-
Zhrine.
yeah, they have an album called Unortheta.
Unortheta.
Yeah, and it's pretty good. So
It sounds like if I say this, like my furniture is going to start levitating.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And it was a choice between that and some other albums I'm more familiar with. So I want to do something that I really haven't listened to that much either.
Okay.
Because I've known the past 3 albums somewhat decently.
Okay. What genre is it again? You said is it black metal?
It's like I would probably put it in like atmospheric black metal, but it's
Okay.
also got a lot of death metal elements.
Okay.
Primarily picked it because I think there's a lot of diversity on the tracks. Because there's some that I picked where I'm like, it's just straight up death metal the whole time. Might not be as easy to talk about.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I want to go with them.
What was it again? Zhrine?
Zhrine Unortheta.
Zhrine Unortheta.
Unortheta.
Zhrine Unortheta. Okay, so
Iceland,
guys.
they're harmless.
All right, so we'll be back next week with Zhrine Unortheta. Unortheta. So thank you guys for listening. If you like this, share it with a friend, with a family member. And give, if you want to have some extra fun, listen to these albums before we come out with the
Yeah.
episode. That way you can listen to our thoughts at the same time. I think that'd be kind of a fun little experiment to do. You know what? Something I was thinking of. Some podcasts do like a watch with me thing, like a movie podcast. So
Oh,
maybe
cute.
sometime what we could probably do is a listen with us type of thing, where we just listen to a whole album with our headphones and kind of commentary with it.
Yeah.
So kind of like a listen to us. kind
if
of
we ever
episode.
have fans, we could do a live stream.
That'd be.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll happen.
Yeah, maybe not.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. This has been Ear Bearners.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Kisses. That is so loud.
I have to piss so bad.
Yeah.
Unortheta.
Dude, those cheese curds we had last night, not great on the other way out.
The what?
Those cheese curds we had, man.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Those hurt you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
They're fine. They're hurting me, but it's
You had
okay.
a lot, so,
Yeah.
yeah. That would make sense.
God.
Dude, I gotta pee.